Hi, this is Debbie Pate. We're going to get started on ethical issues in nursing. Just a few things I wanted to go over with you today. How important are the ethics in today's society, do you think? As we look at this, we're going to look at the terms ethics, bioethics, values, and morals, ethical principles, the code of ethics, and the primary values and nursing standards definitions. We'll also look at the nursing practice and the framework for processing an ethical dilemma. Values and ethics are inherent in all nursing acts. A value is a strong personal belief. It's an idea that a person strives to uphold. Many of these values will reflect your cultural and social influences and relationships and your personal needs. And these will vary among people and develop and change over time. The ethics is a branch of philosophy concerned with determining right and wrong in relationship to people's decisions and actions. Morals and ethics are often used interchangeably, but morals are often stated as private, personal standards of what right is wrong, what is right and wrong. Ethics, on the other hand, reflects a commitment to standards beyond personal preferences. So when we look at professional ethics, we think of it's the principles and values which are universal application and the standards of conduct in all situations. So bioethics, by definition, is the application of ethical principles in healthcare or to healthcare. It includes and is involved in direct patient care, the allocation of resources, utilization of staff, and it's concerned with medical and nursing research. Nursing ethics is, by nature, a subset of bioethics. So I think that's important to understand what bioethics is. Nursing ethics, like we had said, it's an expression of how nurses ought to conduct themselves. It refers to ethical standards that govern and guide nurses in everyday practice, such as being truthful with clients, respecting client confidentiality, and advocating on behalf of the client. So the main principles that we look at are autonomy, maleficence, beneficence, justice, veracity, fidelity, and confidentiality. So just to go through a few of these, autonomy is going to refer to a person's independence. It gives them self-determination and self-reliance. The patient has the right to make decisions about his or her care. And an example of this would be like signing a consent form for surgery. Maleficence refers to the avoidance of causing any harm to clients. Try to balance the risk and benefits of a plan of care while striving to do no harm. An example of this would be like a bone marrow transplant, which it promises to be a cure, but we have to be honest with our patients and make sure they understand it's a long period of pain and suffering. The beneficence, that means promoting good or doing good for others, and it takes positive steps to help others. It helps to guide difficult decisions when benefits of a treatment may be challenged by the risk of the client's well-being or dignity. The best interest of the client must be upheld, and that's kind of like immunizations would be. Justice refers to fairness or equity. Clients need to be treated in a manner that they deserve. An example is both clients receive the same treatment when being admitted for surgery, and the fair resources as an example also. Veracity refers to truth-telling and is a reciprocal relationship between the nurse and the patient. An example of this would be like the expectation that the patient would give a truthful health history when you're interviewing him. On the other hand, the nurse would be truthful with the patient about all matters at hand in the healthcare situation. Fidelity refers to practicing faithfully within the boundaries of the state and law. An example, the nurse takes care to honor his or her commitments and promises to patient while considering the ethical mandates of the nursing profession. Confidentiality, on the other hand, refers to protection of private health information gathered during the provision of healthcare services. So when we look at that, we want to think about what's the difference, and if you know the difference between privacy and confidentiality. Well, according to the book, the privacy of patients is cared for when closing the room door when performing nursing care, and confidentiality of patient is cared for not by discussing that care with someone that is not a member of the patient's healthcare team. So what does our code of ethics do? It gives us guidance for decision making about ethical matters by providing a set of values that are basic to nursing practice. It also provides rules of ethical or moral behavior for every circumstance. It offers us the guidance about which values should we take into priority or how they can be balanced in practice. Values in the Code of Ethics. These are some that, if you look at the ANA Code of Ethics for nursing, this is what they basically are promoting. We're going to provide safe, compassionate, and competent ethical care. We're going to promote health and well-being, and we're going to promote and respect informed decision-making. We're going to maintain privacy and confidentiality, and we're going to promote justice, and we're going to be accountable. So in providing care, safe and compassionate, competent, ethical care, nurses value the ability to provide this type of care, and it allows them to fulfill their ethical and professional obligations to the people they serve. To promote health and well-being, nurses value health promotion and well-being and assist persons to achieve their optimum level of health in situations of normal health, injury, disability, or at the end of life. So if we're going to promote and respect informed decision making, we as nurses need to provide persons with appropriate information and services so they can make informed decisions, ensure that the nursing care is given with an informed consent. And we would preserve their dignity by recognizing and respecting the inherent worth of each person and advocate for respectful treatment of all persons. Nurses safeguard the trust of clients, that information learned in the context of a professional relationship is shared outside the healthcare team only with client's permission or as legally required, or where failure to disclose would cause significant harm. Nurses apply and promote principles of equity and fairness to assist clients in receiving unbiased treatment, which means that social justice of the social class, the economy of that client, and a share of health services and resources proportionate to their needs. We want to safeguard any kind of human rights, and nurses act in a manner consistent with their professional responsibilities and standards of practice and are answerable for their practice. So when we define nursing practice, this describes a desirable and achievable level of performance expected of the registered nurse and their practice against which performance can be measured. So benchmark for assessing the professional conduct of all nurses is this definition of nursing standards. The 6 standards of nursing practice are accountability, continuing competence, application of knowledge and skills and judgment, professional relationships and advocacy, professional leadership, and self-regulation. So if we look at the standards, we're going to go through 1 through 6. Standard 1 and 2, accountability. We're accountable to the public to ensure that clients receive competent, safe, and ethical care. Our continuing competence is that the registered nurse attains and maintains competence relevant to their own scope of nursing practice. And then 3 and 4, application of knowledge, skills, and judgment. The registered nurse demonstrates competencies relevant to their own scope of nursing practice, and by doing so we have professional relationships and advocacy. We establish a professional therapeutic relationship, and we are an advocate for our clients. Standard 5 and 6, professional relationship or professional leadership, demonstrates leadership when providing quality nursing care and health care services to clients. And in self-regulation, we're going to personally be accountable to practice nursing in a competent and ethical manner. Ethical decision-making process. Well, the Guide for Ethical Decision-Making Process is a guide for ethical discussion within the context of a healthcare practice. It incorporates theories, principles, and codes in the decision-making process. An ethical dilemma often forces a choice between one or more ethical principles. Deciding in favor of one of the principles can often violate another principle, and often there is no clear answer or decision in resolving ethical dilemmas. Often ethical dilemmas pose more questions than provide answers. What's the process when we're going to go through an ethical dilemma? First of all, we have to ask ourselves, is this an ethical dilemma? We need to gather all the information relevant to the case. Then we're going to examine and determine what your own values are. You're going to verbalize a problem, and then you're going to consider a possible course of action and negotiate the outcome. And then we'll evaluate the action. So this is how we're going to look at evaluating and the process that will be embraced in ethical dilemma decisions. So this is the end of this first portion of this narrated ethical dilemmas. Next we'll go to the legal. You will go to Julie Williams. She's a care manager, a risk manager at Winnie Palmer, and she has supplied us with her PowerPoints. So you'll look at that. You'll see the narrated PowerPoint, or I'm not sure that she narrated it, but she gave self-explanation to all her thoughts on this. And then she put, at the end of that, she put some cases that had gone to court, and then the awards that were given accordingly. Thank you. Bye.